First impressions really matter when you're getting into a new work environment. In this video, I'm going to be going over just a few simple tips you can use to start improving your first impressions today. Let's get into it. The first tip that I would say is that you should arrive early. On time is late, early is on time. It's, what is that, an old military saying? This seems really simple, but this is something where you don't really know what's going to happen when you're on the way to whatever meeting or office you're going to, or even if you're just jumping on a Zoom call. You should be ready and have that thing open before the meeting starts. I always find it quite embarrassing when my device isn't ready, or I'm muted, or, all the little things that happen from time to time. You just need to try to prepare yourself as good as you can. You can only do your best. So let's try to bring our best up and try to perform at that higher level going forward. The second thing I would do, especially if you're in an interview, is to dress up. Depending on what industry you're in, this could mean different things, but I would say you should dress up, and you shouldn't lose yourself while you dress up as well. So you can have a little bit of your style, but if you're in a very conservative industry, you shouldn't be wearing some gaudy, pink or purple suit or something, or you know what I'm saying? Like you can have your personality in what you're wearing, but you also need to dress the part. Like you gotta dress for the job that you want, I think is the moniker I would use in this particular instance, and it should serve you well. Here's a third quick tip. You should listen more than you speak. This gets into EQ territory, but you should be listening more than you speak. And this is a situation that you can start having empathy for those around you and to learn how to read the room better. Because if you are trying to make a first impression, you don't want to come off as arrogant, and you don't want to oversell yourself. There's a fine line between pumping yourself up or puffing yourself up and just being arrogant. And if you're trying to make a good first impression, you can be confident, but you better have the skills to back it up. And just being quiet and listen, active listening especially, if you can start doing some active listening when you're making first impressions, that will take you very far. And as I keep saying, when it comes to engineers, these skills of active listening, the bar is so low that you just being conscious and trying to practice it, you're going to be leagues ahead of your competition. Just leagues ahead. Number 4, you should express gratitude when people do things for you. I'm saying this in a first impression video because when you're first meeting someone, you should be expressing some gratitude to someone for getting that meeting going. Unless you're using some automated system like LinkedIn or cold emailing resumes, if you're having a first impression, someone probably helped grease the skids for you and get that conversation open. And you should give that person gratitude. And this extends to when you start establishing your professional network. You should never burn any bridges, and the easiest way to do that is to express gratitude when you have people interact and do things on your behalf. Especially if they do things and you've given them an urgency that wasn't there before. So you've asked for something, it's like, I really need this like today. And if you can, there are ways you can ask these things, and you can start doing it in a way that's not pushy and gets your point across, doesn't burn bridges. You don't have a name for yourself at the office that's negative, because that's not what you want. You're trying to be the very social, so that you're trying to be a social engineer, and these first impressions, you make a name for yourself based on how these go. So having some gratitude to the people you meet along the way will make those people not stand in the way as you try to grow your network. The 5th and final first impression tip is to practice positive body language. When I mean positive body language, I mean sitting open, so you're not crossing your arms, you're not looking down, you're looking people in the eye or looking at their face, and you don't have to be squared up to them, so you can kind of, this gets into very nuanced social intelligence things, but You shouldn't be completely square with someone. You be a little off and start, looking straight at them and practicing positive body language. There's other things you can start doing like mirroring as well. And I'll have another video on this topic, but you'll basically start noticing, if you start being more conscious and paying attention, that if you start mirroring what the other person's doing with their hands, how they're standing, crossing their legs, you can reach a level of attunement with that other person very quickly. And this gets into empathy for more than an instant. So empathy is usually you're feeling that person for an instant, and attunement is actually attuning with them, so being empathetic over a longer period. And practicing positive body language is something you're already going through your day-to-day life. Why don't you just start practicing this? And as you start practicing, it gets easier, and then it becomes unconsciously competent. So you know how that quad chart works, right? So you want to get to that unconscious competence with this stuff. And then you can start really having the little things like, oh, that was a bit weird. Why did this person do that? And this will help you when you start meeting more and more people. Your first impressions only get better with time if you're being conscious and trying to get more competent at them. If you enjoyed this content and want to learn more about becoming a more social engineer, check out my links in the description below. I hope to see you there.